The image of a farmer I look up is like jack of all trades, nothing gets you down, keep going ahead, tough, be tough, look tough.
We're supposed to be the ones that make the decisions. We're the ones that's supposed to know what we're gonna do next, and we're supposed to be all these kind of things, and our feelings and our mental health are the last thing on the list, right? And if anything, if you're struggling, well, just work harder, and that's not always a good thing.
Je m'appelle Ginette Lafleur. Je suis comme tout rôle, je suis chercheur en santé mentale, suicide des agriculteurs. Puis aussi, je travaille à la maison pour agriculteurs au Québec qui offre des services psychosociaux pour les agriculteurs qui rencontrent des difficultés. Je suis la directrice adjointe ici. Puis en 2005-2006 où j'ai mené l'enquête, c'était assez nouveau de faire. Au Québec, c'était la première. Puis au Canada, je pense pas qu'il y en a eu beaucoup à cette époque-là. Puis j'avais l'impression aussi d'avoir ouvert une espèce de boîte de Pandore, dans le sens où c'était un questionnaire. Questions-réponses, un questionnaire quantitatif, on coche et puis il y avait 2-3 petites lignes à la fin si les gens avaient quelque chose à rajouter. Mais finalement, quand j'ai mis bout à bout les témoignages de tous les agriculteurs, j'avais 125 pages de commentaires. Fait que c'est un peu, j'ai l'impression comme la première fois qu'on libérait la parole. Je venais d'ouvrir un questionnaire que c'était marqué à la main en haut. Quand vous ouvrirez cette lettre, je serai peut-être mort au bout du rouleau. Fait que c'est comme, oh, OK.
My name is Daryl Boersma. I farm here in Mount Bridges, Ontario. We're predominantly a cash crop operation. We keep a few animals, a few chickens, a few beef cattle, just as a bit of a hobby for my kids and I. I've got 3 kids, a son aged 15 and girls aged 8 and 11.
Are we good?
Agriculture was the only thing I lived and breathed from a little age, like 3-4 years old, going in the combine with my dad and falling asleep on the floor in the combine and wanting to spend all day out there, right? So I started farming actually when I was 18 years old, and I expanded my operation from 0 acres to about 1,200 acres in only a few short years, and those were all farms that were fields that were offered to me to rent. At this point, I'm quite happy with where I'm at. I'm very, very fortunate. My son, who's 15, he's with me now about 80% of the time. And then my girls are 50-50. And they spend the rest of the time at their mom's place.
When am I going to be allowed to go in 4-H?
Well, we'll have to figure it out with your mom.
Oh, yeah, probably.
But yeah, 4-H is a pretty good program. They got all kinds of, things for the kids to learn.
So for years, I had mental health struggles in grade school already, having thoughts of suicide in grade 6, grade 7, things like that. Again in high school a little bit, and then in my early 20s, I struggled with that, and then I didn't really have anywhere that I felt safe or comfortable talking about those things with. And then, I definitely just, shoved it under a rug. Men have this box which they're supposed to live within, right? We're supposed to be the leaders. We're supposed to be the tough ones. We're supposed to be the one that stands up for our household. We're supposed to be, all this and all that, right? And if you step outside the lines of that box, you get ridiculed, and showing weakness is not within that box, right?
Agriculture is an amazing industry. We're doing some pretty incredible things. We're growing food for the world. But with that comes an immense amount of pressures and challenges and isolation. Over the last few years, almost daily or a weekly basis, I get a message or an email or a phone call of someone's farmer or someone's friend who is a farmer who has died by suicide.
I believe that we are currently experiencing a mental health crisis for farmers in Canada. All the research that we've done over the past 6 years points to that.
My name's Cole Norman, and we're here on my ranch on Flying Dust First Nation, and just out in the corral. And this was always a spot I wanted to live. I kind of hoped nobody ever moved here before I did, because I wanted to always live here, and ended up working out. So nobody on the reserve really ranches. I'm kind of like one of the first ones, or if not the first one, to have cattle. So everybody takes their cows to the local stockyards, and some guys get better prices, some guys have a good family name, and I think that they just kind of a little bit hesitant, I guess, to kind of think like, this young guy off the reserve, and he's kind of starting to get into cattle, and I don't know, they're not real open to working with me. I think just growing up, I was in a little bit of a unique position. I grew up on the reserve my whole life, and there's a bit of stigma with that, but at the same time, I'm very pale-skinned and being treaty, and I was getting a little bit of stereotype from both sides kind of thing, and they're like, well, I didn't really feel like I fit in anywhere, so I was like, well, I'm just gonna have to carve my own path. It's not like I'm picking sides. I just want to do ranching, and I want to be traditional, and I want to be First Nations, and I still want to have cattle. Like, I want to do both. Yeah, it was frustrating at the start. Like, there's so much you can do, but there's so much you don't know at the same time. Like, you keep butting your head against the wall because you're like, well, this should be working. I don't know why this isn't working. Even my wife, I tell her anything, and to this day I tell her anything, but she'd ask me, she'd say, how are you feeling today? Like, how's your mental health? You could say 8 days out of 10, I'd say, I don't want to talk about it. I'll talk about it later. And there's times where I did end up blowing up on her, and all she was trying to do was help me. And I'd ask my friends, I'd ask my wife, I'd say, how often do you think about suicide? And she'd be like, what do you mean? Well, how often do you think about killing yourself? Not usually ever, like never. That's weird, because I'm thinking about it like all the time. I felt like less of a man. I was a little bit embarrassed. I live in a small town and everybody knows everybody. Somebody sees me walking into the hospital to the mental health office, and everybody's gonna be judging me, and I was just kind of put my head down and quickly walked in there, and okay, did anybody see me? I don't think so. And then my friends are all really good, really supportive. I could tell them anything, but at the same time, it's kind of like guy code. I didn't want to be like crying on his shoulder, and kind of.
If you are trying to access care in your own rural community, well, everyone knows who drives what for a vehicle. So if your truck or your car is parked in front of the local therapist's, building, everybody knows why you're there.
There was one farming man that talked about really hesitating to seek help because the office to seek help was across the street from the bank that held the loans for his farm. And he had serious concerns that if his truck was seen there, it would impact whether or not he would receive additional loans to better his barn. Like, those are serious concerns that people talk about when they're talking about seeking help for their mental health.
Sur la ferme, on est habitué qu'il faut qu'on porte plusieurs chapeaux, on fait plusieurs tâches, on fait ça nous-mêmes. Donc, on n'est pas porté vraiment là, à aller... il faut s'arranger. Donc, ça, c'est un des facteurs qui va freiner la demande, d'aide parce que t'es un homme fort, de toute façon, ça n'a pas de problème de santé mentale, ça va pas te demander d'aide, tout ça.
I do think that having this bravado associated with being a farmer is a barrier to seeking help for your mental health or even thinking about your own mental health for very long. I think that that's something that we have to work towards eliminating from farm culture, and that's kind of a gargantuan task to take on.
My name's Lynn Crock. I own and operate the Long Lake Ranch, and these are some of my saddle horses, cattle horses, and what I use for the cattle here. They each have a specific function, some of them. This guy here, his name's Fletcher. He's a good roundup for cows or horses, and he's good for roping, not too bad. When I was a child, like around 6 to 10, this place ran totally on horsepower. My job as a youngster, and my dad, he was a pretty tough guy, and I was in charge of all the horse teams until probably age 12, and then I took a place as a full-time hired man here. And then once we converted gradually to automation, I sort of had a full partnership. My mom being a teacher, I think I was one of the first in this area to go to university. So I'm in university at Queen's, and my mom phones me up crying, "Dad can't get along without you here." So there again, you're in a double standard. You got to go to university, plus you got to help here. So you just never got away from it because to them, the farm or the ranch came first. Nothing else mattered. You know, as a kid, you want to please your parents, and there was a funny thing about that happened because I had a lot of my friends working with me. They weren't paid, but they always come up. We rode horses, and my dad would always praise the kids that were coming in. Why, he's a good worker. So I worked harder, and I never got that. And I thought, well, I must be slacking here because he never said that about me. So I ended up working twice as hard and still never got it. But I figured it out down the road that's just the way my dad was. I mean, you didn't complain to my dad. No, you didn't complain. You did what you were told, no matter what happened. Talking about emotions to my dad would be like talking to that door because I don't think he wanted to hear it. He couldn't respond. Total different guy when he was depressed. I liked him. He asked how I was doing or what I was doing, and we didn't have that type of rapport. I mean, he did his thing and he knew I'd do my thing, and that was it. I think he had a type of depression which was seasonal, and at a very young age, I've seen him, I don't know what you say, go into a deep depression. And so here I am, 12 years old, and my father's in a depression, and I'm telling him what to do just to keep him from doing anything stupid, but I've seen him be non-functional for like every day. He just couldn't go near a cow, he couldn't go near the barn because it associated with, I'm never going to get the work done, I'm not making any money, I'm scared of losing the place. There's no, like I said before, there's no safety net for you. You're just flying on your behind, because at any moment, one thing, environment, rain, sun, the market, like, you have no control of it.
I definitely just, shoved it under a rug and tried to get through life for, all through my late 20s and into my 30s for a pretty big length of time, that I just, went through life and just pushed it down and didn't talk about it with anybody. The loneliness and living alone, I hate to say this, but I think it shortened my life. It's fairly well documented that loneliness shortens your life. I'm fairly aware that that's likely the case in my situation. I find being alone really hard, really hard. Going to bed at night is difficult, and just the quietness, it doesn't sit well with me.
Moi, je m'appelle Chantal Raymond. Moi, je suis une fille de ville, de Drummondville, et puis j'ai connu mon conjoint, puis je suis devenue agricultrice. La première fois que j'ai senti que j'avais un problème au niveau de la maladie mentale, genre une dépression, d'un, tu penses toujours que ça arrive aux autres. Tu penses pas que tu vas vivre ça. Puis, un moment donné, je me suis sentie comme bizarre. Ça faisait longtemps. Bon, tu dors pas bien. Tu pleures à propos de rien. T'sais. Puis, quand tu dors pas bien, mais c'est parce qu'il y a un petit hamster dans ta tête qui fait rouler tout le temps. Là, tu penses. Fait que là, tu dors pas. Tous les petits travaux, genre... La vaisselle sur le comptoir, c'est une montagne. Tu veux pas la faire, c'est... Puis t'es toujours comme fatigué. Fait que là, un moment donné, mon conjoint dit, y a-tu de quoi qui marche pas, tu sais? Ben, j'ai dit, je sais pas, je me sens bizarre. Puis, j'ai été voir le médecin, puis là, il m'a prescrit des médicaments. Puis là, il m'a dit, il faudrait que tu consultes. Fait que là, je suis sortie de là, j'ai pris les médicaments, mais j'ai pas consulté. Ben, je me suis dit, garde, consulter, il y a juste les fous qui consultent.
L'agriculture, ça a toujours été ça a toujours fait partie des métiers dans la littérature, ça, des métiers les plus stressants, parce qu'on travaille avec du vivant, puis on travaille on travaille à ciel ouvert. Il fallait que j'explique à des enfants ce que c'était. C'est comme les défis de l'agriculture. Puis, comme je dis, c'est comme, par exemple, les cultures, c'est comme si on était dans une usine sans toit. Il n'y a pas de. Y a pas, fait que tout est soumis aux intempéries, au désir d'âme nature. Donc, ça. Fait que juste le fait de cette vigilance-là constante, parce qu'on travaille avec du vivant, fait que déjà, il y a plein de choses qu'on ne contrôle pas. l'attente de la tempête est parfois pire que la tempête elle-même, là.
Here a few years ago in Ontario, we had a vomitoxin in the corn. We had a toxin in the corn, made the corn very tough to sell, let's say. In the end, it did go, but I was having loads and loads of corn rejected, being sold at a lower price. I had days that I cried all day. Had days that I was about ready to throw in the whole towel, the farm, and there was days I just thought about it ending it all. I struggle with this fear, the fear of the pain, the fear of that whatever way you're going to choose to end your life, you're going to hurt, and then you try to. Again, you go back to the list and you say, okay, now why shouldn't I do this, and what is good in my life? And then for me, I think of the kids and things like that, and you kind of walk yourself back from the edge a little bit. The kids were the only reason I didn't want them to have to live without a father, so I kept going, but it was really hard.
Farmers live where they work, and they work where they live. So having boundaries that you might suggest for somebody else who works in an office setting is just simply not going to work. It's not feasible. You can't take 2 weeks off and then watch your barn, your animals, what happens to them. You can't do, it's just not possible. Or setting boundaries of, you're going to leave work at the door and go in the house. Well, again, you walk in your house and you're looking at your work out the window.
J'avais un témoignage là, récemment d'un producteur agricole, de son fils, là, que le père s'était suicidé, puis il disait juste la pancarte au chemin de à vendre, de terre à vendre ou ferme à vendre, pour lui, c'était comme une pierre tombale. C'est tellement, ils ont tellement mis toute leur vie là-dedans. C'est un attachement, il y a un grand attachement émotif à toute cette terre-là, souvent ce patrimoine-là qu'on a hérité des générations avant.
It is a big stress, a big stressor. How do you pass this on to your kids? How can you afford to pass it on? If it did get carved up, it would be a sad day. I hope I'm not alive. I know every inch of this like you know your backyard. Just that loss, it'd just be sad. Because I've worked, and my dad's worked, and my grandfather, you put a lot of, blood, sweat, and tears into these places, and, I get emotional right now thinking, like, if I lost this place, I'd be lost. I can't live in the city. And I hope I can afford it to pass it on. Otherwise, they're going to chop this place to pieces to be able to afford to stay here. And that, I hope I'm dead by then, because I don't want to see it.
For a lot of them, the reasons for not suiciding are more practical. So if I'm having a discussion with a farmer and they are talking about ending their life with the shotgun in the tractor cab, which I've had those phone calls before, I just ask really practical questions. Okay, who is going to find you? Who will find you sitting in the cab? And they think about that. And then I ask the questions, who's going to clean that cab of the tractor out? Because someone has to. Are you hoping that your family will continue using this tractor after you have brain and hair matter spattered in the vents. These are the details that typically cause a lot of farmers to pause and hesitate and think about that, because tractors are worth a lot of money. So they don't want to leave that for a family member to have to deal with of, okay, what do you do with a tractor that no one wants to drive? You have $200,000 worth of machinery sitting here that's not usable, it's not sellable. Well, most farmers won't leave that burden with a family member.
My dad he said when he was younger, he went through some mental health issues, and he said, I wish I would have did what you did, and instead of, turning to alcohol or drugs, he said I should have went and got help. The therapist I was seeing, he had a background with outdoors and I think that was a big help, because not many people are going to understand if I go in and I say, oh, I cried about my cows last night because my cows got out. He understood the hard work, and that was huge. Once I finally got talking to somebody, it opened up a whole bunch of kind of unresolved issues that I had. These things that are kind of been heavy on my heart. Now I openly tell people that. I'll tell my friends, I told my parents, my grandparents, I said, if I didn't go to therapy when I did, I said I wouldn't be here today.
C'est parce que on dirait que quand tu es dans l'agricole, tu te lèves le matin, fais ton train, fais tes travaux, tu n'as pas le temps, on dirait qu'on n'a pas besoin d'eux. Mais au contraire, on a vraiment besoin. Puis je trouve qu'il n'y a pas beaucoup de ressources spécialisées dans l'agricole, parce que les problèmes que les agriculteurs ou les acériculteurs de sirop d'érable aussi peuvent en avoir des problèmes. Puis il n'y a pas grand monde de spécialisé là-dedans, parce que c'est pas les mêmes problèmes qu'un homme qui habite en ville, qui travaille dans un bureau. C'est pas les mêmes problèmes, là, tu sais.
I would hope that we're beginning to understand the urgency behind some of this. Farmers are dying by suicide. There's no higher level of urgency to increase access to care for these farmers.
I think there needs to be more psychiatrists, psychologists with a farm background, because you have to relate to this guy or woman. You're the guy, and things are going wrong. There's nobody else to fix it. So you got to knuckle down and do whatever it takes. And sometimes it takes professional counseling or whatever. And if you don't go for that, you're going to suffer.
Mais pas parce que t'es faible que t'as des problèmes au niveau du mental. C'est juste que t'as pas su vivre avec les problèmes qui sont apparus. T'as pas trouvé les solutions. Ça t'a affecté beaucoup. Mais c'est pas un signe de faiblesse. Je veux dire, si on veut que tout marche bien puis que l'agriculture continue de nourrir le monde, ben il faut être capable que quand on a des problèmes, de consulter sans se faire pointer du doigt, sans se faire rire d'eux-mêmes aussi. Si ça peut avoir aidé quelqu'un, ça va me faire énormément plaisir.
As much as farmers help each other out, and we do, for sure, I think we only do it as an industry kind of when we really know something's there, when it's something tangible, right? Hey, you're struggling with cancer, you're having a hard time getting your crop off, all the neighbors show up and we have we all help out with the combining kind of thing, right? But supporting each other in a non-concrete way is maybe still lacking a fair little bit, I think.
I've heard a lot of people say, oh, you have anxiety or you depression? Well, just get over it. Just be happy. Like, why are you sad? Like, I'm a tough guy too, but if you're dealing with mental health problems, like that's different than physical problems. Like, I'd way rather deal with the physical issue or a fight than deal with a mental health battle, because the physical fight's way easier to win. I know that for sure.
That's a hard thing to live with. It is. If you don't feel comfortable within what society says you're supposed to be, that's really hard. That's hard to live. I think it's changing. I think more of us are willing to talk about it and to, you know, help support others. And I'm glad it's changing, but it's taken a long time for us to be willing to have those conversations. And there's nothing to be ashamed of. There's lots of us that struggle, and sometimes it's a struggle for 6 months, and some will struggle for years, right? But it's absolutely nothing to be ashamed of.
You shouldn't be alone in this. I always suggest to people, they need help, for God's sakes, get it. If I can prevent someone from, God forbid, ever taking their life over a bit of ground and a few cows, I'll be there.
1.75. Watch this. I'm gonna beat that.
Go! No! Oh my God!
Dad wins!